Jake ran through the crowded corridors of the space station, heart pounding like a drum. Every step echoed in the metal hallways, bouncing off walls lined with glowing advertisements in alien languages. He knew the debt collectors were close behind. They were fast, cruel, and they never forgot a target. Jake had thought he could outsmart them this time, but the station was enormous. The hunters had trackers that could sniff. A human out from 100 meters away, he rounded a corner and skidded to a stop. In front of him was a massive laundry area, the kind that served the whole residential section of the station. Humanoid aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about, carrying piles of clothes in baskets that looked heavier than Jake himself. And there, in the middle of it all, were the muscular alien women he had seen earlier, warriors, by the way they carried themselves. With broad shoulders, long, powerful arms, and an aura of discipline. Their skin was a deep bronze, smooth and almost metallic under the station lights. And they moved with a confidence that made Jake feel small. Jake's mind raced. He had no money, no weapons, and no chance of outrunning the debt collectors. Then an idea struck him. One desperate, insane idea. He could hide in the laundry. The alien women were gathering bags of clothes in huge baskets. And if he could slip inside one, maybe, just maybe, he could escape notice. He crouched behind a stack of dirty clothes, trying to control his breathing. Each step the aliens took made the floor creak under their weight. Their movements were precise and strong, yet somehow graceful. Jake had never seen beings so physically imposing. He imagined fighting one of them. It was impossible. No human could hope to overpower them. But maybe if he stayed out of sight and stayed clever, he could survive. As the warriors moved closer, Jake darted toward a large basket and slipped inside. The smell of detergent and alien sweat hit him instantly. He pressed himself against the side, careful not to make a sound. The basket rocked slightly as one of the aliens lifted it, unaware of the small human hiding within. Jake held his breath as the warrior carried him across the room and set him down among other laundry baskets. From his hiding spot, Jake could see everything. The alien women worked together in synchronized motion, folding enormous sheets and tossing them into dryers that looked like metal cylinders taller than a human. They spoke in a strange, melodic language that seemed to rise and fall like music. Jake couldn't understand the words, but he could feel the discipline in their voices. Every gesture was precise, every step measured. Jake's stomach growled, reminding him he hadn't eaten since he left his cramped, run-down apartment hours ago. He tried to ignore it, pressing himself deeper into the basket, hoping no one would notice the slight movement. As the aliens continued their work, Jake began to watch them more closely. There was something fascinating about the way they lived, even in the simplest of tasks. Their strength wasn't just physical. It was in their unity, their focus, their unwavering attention to detail. Minutes passed like hours. Jake had to stay perfectly still, even as the basket he was in was carried up a ramp and stacked on top of other baskets. He heard voices behind him, laughter in that alien language, and felt a strange mixture of fear and awe. The debt collectors might be closing in at any moment, yet here he was, observing a culture completely unlike his own. Suddenly, the basket wobbled. Jake's heart skipped a beat as a massive hand hovered above him, fingers brushing against the cloth that hid him. One of the alien women tilted the basket, sniffing it as if sensing something off. Jake froze, his mind racing for a solution. He couldn't risk making a sound. Slowly, carefully, he adjusted his position, pressing his body flat against the bottom of the basket. The alien woman straightened, muttering something to the others, and Jake realized she hadn't discovered him yet. The tension made him sweat, even though the air was cool. Hours seemed to pass as Jake moved silently with the laundry. He caught glimpses of the aliens' daily lives, the way they trained with massive weights, sparred with each other, and carried crates of supplies with ease. He was amazed by their discipline and resilience. In every motion, he saw a kind of beauty humans rarely possessed, and yet he knew he could never match them in strength. His only hope was his wits, his ability to think fast and adapt as night fell on the station. The activity in the laundry area slowed. The baskets were stacked neatly, the dryers humming with warm energy. Jake had almost forgotten the debt collectors in the chaos of observation and hiding. But then, a shadow fell over his basket. A smaller alien, less muscular than the others, but with sharp eyes and quick movements, crouched down to inspect the pile. Jake's heart pounded again. The alien lifted the basket slightly, turning it side to side. Jake held his breath. Every muscle in his body tensed. If he made a single sound, it would be over. The alien sniffed, then muttered something in that strange language. Jake couldn't understand it, but the tone was curious rather than angry. The alien straightened and moved away, leaving Jake shaken but still safe for now. He waited for what felt like forever before daring to peek out. The coast seemed clear. Slowly, Jake climbed out of the basket and looked around. The other warriors were seated at a long table, eating enormous portions of food. Their plates were piled high with alien vegetables, strange meat-like substances, and glowing liquids that Jake didn't recognize. He imagined what it would be like to eat that much every day, to have muscles like theirs. He shivered. Humans could never compare in raw physical strength, but perhaps there was something else, something unique about their adaptability and cunning. Jake's thoughts were interrupted by the faint sound of boots clanging on metal. He froze again. The debt collectors were near. He ducked behind a stack of folded laundry, heart racing. He could hear their voices, low and threatening, speaking in a harsh language he recognized from previous encounters. They were calling his name. Panic surged through him. He had to move, had to escape, but every exit seemed blocked. The laundry area was a maze of baskets, machines, and alien workers. The warriors moved with precision, and Jake realized he couldn't just run blindly. He needed a plan. Then an idea came: he could use the aliens' discipline against the debt collectors. If he timed it right, if he moved when the warriors' attention was focused elsewhere, he might be able to slip out unnoticed. It was risky, almost suicidal, but he had no choice. He waited, counting the seconds in his head. The debt collectors grew louder, frustration creeping into their voices. Jake saw one of the alien warriors stand and lift a basket, and he took his chance. With a quick dash, he slipped between the towering figures, careful not to touch them or make a sound. His heart was in his throat. Every step could be his last. As he reached the edge of the laundry area, Jake felt a hand grab his shoulder. He spun around, ready to fight, but it was not a debt collector. It was one of the muscular alien women. Her eyes were piercing, and for a moment, Jake thought he was done for. But instead of anger, there was curiosity in her gaze. She tilted her head as if questioning him. Jake opened his mouth, but no words came out. What could he say? He was a small, weak human hiding in laundry. Yet somehow he felt a strange connection of respect even from this alien warrior. Perhaps they saw cleverness as strength, just like humans did. The warrior released his shoulder and pointed toward an exit. Jake didn't hesitate. He ran, ducking under tables and past dryers, adrenaline pushing him faster than he had ever moved. Behind him, he heard shouts and confusion, but the aliens did not pursue. It was as if they had made a silent decision to let him go, to allow a small, clever human a chance to survive in a world ruled by strength. By the time Jake reached a quieter corridor, he was breathless, sweating, but alive. He glanced back toward the laundry area, where the muscular alien women had returned to their work, their discipline unbroken. He realized something important. In a universe of raw power, intelligence, bravery, and adaptability were their own kind of strength. And maybe, just maybe, humans were capable of more than anyone gave them credit for. But his relief was short-lived. Around the next corner, the shadow of the debt collectors loomed. They had found his trail again. Jake's mind raced. He had survived this long through cunning, but could he survive what was coming next? As he ducked into a side tunnel, he caught a glimpse of a ventilation shaft above him and realized this might be his only way out. It was cramped, uncomfortable, and dangerous, but it was better than facing the collectors head-on. He pulled himself up, feeling the metal walls press against his small frame, began crawling forward, praying he could escape. The station lights flickered, the hum of machinery filling his ears. Each crawl felt endless, but Jake pushed on. Somewhere ahead, freedom awaited or death. He didn't know which. All he knew was that a small human with quick thinking and courage had managed to survive the first test in a universe where strength ruled, and he was not done yet. Jake moved carefully through the ventilation shaft, each metallic groan making him flinch. He had never been in a space this tight, and the rough edges scraped his arms as he crawled forward. Sweat ran down his face, but he ignored it. He had survived the laundry room, against all odds, and he wasn't about to give up now. The vent was dark, cramped, and smelled of old metal and recycled air. He could hear the faint echoes of the debt collectors below, their voices growing distant as he climbed higher. Relief washed over him. Maybe, just maybe, he could escape this nightmare and find a quiet corner of the station to disappear. But luck had a strange way of turning in a universe like this. Just as he reached the next vent opening, a hand grabbed his ankle from below. He let out a startled shout and scrambled backward. The hand belonged to one of the muscular alien women. Jake froze, expecting the worst, but instead of anger, her eyes held amusement and curiosity. "You cannot hide forever," she said in her melodic language. Jake couldn't understand the words, but her tone was clear. She wasn't threatening him. Her strength alone made Jake shrink back. Yet there was something in her expression that made him realize he might have an ally. Before he could react, another of the muscular warriors appeared at the vent. She nodded to the first, and they both lowered ropes into the shaft. One of them spoke again, slower this time, as if trying to communicate. Jake understood one word: follow. Cautiously, he climbed down, expecting a trap. But the alien simply guided him out of the shaft and into a private section of the station. The space smelled faintly of metal and protein. In the center was a massive table with alien writing and strange objects strewn across it. Jake's heart raced. Is this some kind of interrogation room? The first warrior gestured for him to sit. He did so slowly, hands raised to show he meant no harm. The alien tilted her head, observing him carefully. Jake realized she was testing him, gauging his reactions. His mind raced, trying to find a way to explain himself, to earn their trust. I'm just trying to survive," he said, his voice shaky. "They're after me for debts. I didn't mean to hide in your laundry. He trailed off, realizing she didn't understand a word. The alien woman's eyes softened slightly. She gestured for him to stop speaking, and pointed toward a small console. Hesitant, Jake approached it and saw a translator device. He activated it, hearing the alien words converted into rough English. "You are clever," the device translated. "But cleverness is not enough. Strength matters here." Jake swallowed hard. He knew that. He had seen their muscles, their training, their power. But he also knew humans had one advantage: brains. "I can help," he said cautiously. "I can think, plan, get out of dangerous situations. I can be useful." The aliens exchanged glances. One of them gestured for him to sit again. Then, slowly, they began asking questions. Not questions about why he hid, or about his debts, but about strategy, problem-solving, and survival. Jake realized they were testing him, seeing if a human could survive by using intellect rather than brute strength. He answered as best as he could. Thinking quickly, using examples from his own life, told them how he had observed the laundry operations, how he had escaped the debt collectors so far, and how humans often survive by being clever rather than strong. The translator converted his words into their language, and he saw something remarkable: respect in their eyes. Hours passed. The aliens didn't threaten him. They didn't laugh or mock him, or studying him, evaluating him, slowly. Jake realized he wasn't just a human hiding in laundry anymore. He was something else, a being whose mind, creativity, courage were being acknowledged. Suddenly, the private area's doors burst open. The debt collectors had found him. They stormed in, weapons raised, shouting in their harsh language. Jake froze, heart pounding. This was it. He was done. But the muscular aliens didn't move away. Instead, they stepped forward, standing between Jake and the intruders. Their sheer size and strength made the debt collectors hesitate. The aliens spoke through the translator, voice calm but commanding, "Leave." Now, the debt collectors laughed at first, thinking it was a bluff. They had dealt with humans before, and humans were weak. But then they noticed the sheer physical presence of the warriors. The disciplined posture, the deadly precision in their movements. Slowly, their confidence faltered. They had underestimated the aliens and the human they were chasing. Jake watched in awe as the aliens advanced, not attacking, but creating a barrier. The debt collectors retreated, realizing this was not worth the fight. Jake couldn't believe it, he was still alive, thanks to beings who had once seemed terrifying to him. Once the debt collectors left, the aliens turned their attention back to Jake. He expected scolding, anger, or at least suspicion. But instead, they nodded. One of them extended a massive hand, and he shook it nervously. The translator conveyed their words: "You are brave. You are clever. You have survived in a place where many humans would have failed." Jake felt a warmth he had never experienced. Respect. Recognition. In this station, where humans were rare and often treated as weak, he had proven himself in his own way. His mind, courage, and adaptability had earned him something the debt collectors could never take away: trust and friendship. Over the next few days, Jake stayed with the muscular aliens. They taught him small tasks, how to carry heavy loads safely, how to organize supplies efficiently, and even how to survive minor physical challenges. Jake was clumsy at first, but his cleverness helped him learn quickly. He adapted to their ways without trying to compete in strength. He also began to understand their culture. The aliens respected discipline, teamwork, and loyalty above all else. They didn't care that he was small or weak. They cared that he could think, adapt, and contribute. Jake realized that strength came in many forms, and human ingenuity was one form they valued highly. During this time, he discovered another truth: he was not alone in being underestimated. Other humans on the station often faced ridicule or dismissal, yet when they used their brains, they could achieve remarkable things. Jake felt proud, realizing that even as a human, he could survive, thrive, and even influence beings far stronger than himself. One evening, as the station lights dimmed and the hum of machinery softened, Jake helped the aliens organize the laundry area. It was exhausting work, but he felt a sense of belonging he had never known before. The muscular women laughed occasionally, teasing him gently when he fumbled a heavy basket. But there was no malice, only camaraderie. Jake reflected on his journey from a desperate human hiding in laundry to someone trusted and respected by beings far stronger than him. He realized that being clever, brave, and adaptable was more powerful than brute strength. In a universe dominated by power, humans had their own weapon, the mind. Weeks later, Jake faced the debt collectors again. This time, however, he didn't run. He walked confidently into the same corridor where he had first been chased. The muscular aliens stood behind him, silent but imposing. The debt collectors' weapons wavered, their confidence gone. Jake didn't need to fight. His allies' presence and his own calm courage were enough. The collectors backed down, muttering threats that no longer frightened him. Jake smiled slightly. He had survived, adapted, and gained respect in a universe that valued strength above all else. And he had learned that humans, though small and weak by alien standards, could achieve greatness through courage, intelligence, and determination. Jake returned to the laundry area with the muscular alien women. He laughed as he helped fold the massive clothes, joking with them in broken alien and the translator device. They laughed too, their laughter deep and resonant, filling the space with warmth. Jake had found a place where he belonged, not because of strength, but because he had used his mind, his courage, his heart. He still had debts to worry about, but they no longer seemed insurmountable. He had allies he could trust, a sense of purpose, and the knowledge that even a human could survive, even thrive in a world full of beings stronger and larger than himself. And as he looked around at the muscular aliens working diligently, he realized something profound. Survival wasn't just about hiding, running, or fighting. It was about understanding, adapting, and finding your place in the universe. Humans might be small, fragile, and underestimated. But in the end, their greatest strength was their mind, and that mind had carried Jake further than any debt collector, any danger, or any obstacle ever could. Jake smiled to himself, feeling a rare, deep satisfaction. For the first time in his life, he wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. The station hummed quietly around him. The laundry machines whirred, the alien women moved with grace and power, and Jake stood among them. Human but unbroken, clever but brave, small but respected. The universe was vast, full of danger and strength, yet he had found his way. And for the first time, Jake believed that humans, no matter how underestimated, could leave their mark on any world, no matter how alien.